Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 9 at Pimlico on Black-Eyed Susan Friday is the $100,000 Hilltop Stakes. We're going 1 mile on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. It is a stakes-laden card. It is a nice card. Get involved with a DRF Bets account. Deposit $100, bet with $250. Learn more at bets.drf.com. Let's make this full, evenly matched field for this year's edition of the Hilltop Stakes. Chad Brown has 2 in here, returning off lengthy layoffs. We'll begin with the number 2, Nova Soul, Group 3 placed when last seen in France. I thought she ran quite well that day. She obviously has a lot of upside.
Yep.
She has Chad in her corner. Yep. What do you make of the layoff?
I mean, there's really nothing to make of it. They ran her 3 times as a 2-year-old. With you, I think she ran fine in all of those races. And this is just a place for Chad to get her started. I think both of Chad's horses are pretty dangerous in here. This horse, she was a little green first time out. I thought she ran okay in that race, but you could tell she was still a little green. She looked a lot better when she won her second career start day. I mean, she got a perfect trip that day, but she won that race very easily, and I liked her last race. Even though she was only 3rd best in there, she actually ran pretty well in that group race.
She did. She showed a little bit of speed out of the gate, settled into the pocket in behind the leader, angled out, had a good look at it, and was right there at the end, only beaten a length. It's apparent she has some quality. The question is, do you really want to take a short price coming off such a long layoff? The other Chad runner is the 5 Dog Tag, 9-2 on the morning line, winner of the P.G. Johnson Stakes in her second lifetime start and her turf debut. She had to angle sharply up the rail at the quarter pole, and she was able to get the job done over a nice filly, Varenka, who came back to make her seasonal debut, a winning one last week at Belmont Park. And the Miss Griot, we can forgive that effort. She took on newspaper of record that day.
She wasn't going to beat her stablemate that day. Her maiden win in the P.G. Johnson, first time on turf. I mean, yeah, she had to angle sharply to the rail, but overall, that was a really good trip. And I think it was a really smart ride from Castellano because the pace was slow and she kept close to it. And then, instead of going to the outside, he angled her down to the rail, and it really worked out for her. And it might have actually made all the difference in there. I felt like watching her as a 2-year-old, it seemed like she really still didn't know what she was doing. I feel like she's a 3-year-old filly now who could come back with a really improved performance. And if she does, I mean, she's supposed to be pretty tough in this race.
And it appears she's going to get some pace to run at, as we see from our Timeform US pace projector. It is a red bar scenario in Timeform US parlance. That means they're expecting a fast pace up front. The 9 and the 3, the 2 most likely pace setters. Let's begin with the Colts Neck stable-owned number 9, Introduced to beating a dirty nose in her last 2 races. Thought she ran okay last time out at Laurel, sitting off the pace, got beat a nose. It was her first start of the year, and then you look at it, she was 3-10 that day.
Yeah, I mean, she was such a big favorite in there, and when you go back and watch it, yeah, I get it. She was off a layoff in there, and so maybe she needed one, but she didn't really have any excuse in that race. She actually got by to the lead late, and then got caught from behind on the wire. I didn't care for that effort. Her race in her 2-year-old finale, going 6 furlongs, that horse that beat her, Regal Glory, is pretty good for Chad. But again, she didn't really have any excuse in that race. She just wasn't quite good enough. There's nothing wrong with her races, Dan. It's just, first time stretching out in here. She really does, I think, have to improve to beat this field. And so I would just want a pretty big price if I was going to bet her.
In handicapping the pace projector, I would just flip-flop the 3 and the 9. I think the 9 will obviously show stretch-out speed, but so will the 3, Fashion Faux Pas. And I think the 3 might be able to get to the lead, outposting the 9. Fashion Faux Pas made her turf debut most recently up at Aqueduct, going 6 furlongs. She was prompting the pace setter in the 2-path. It looked like she was being fairly confidently ridden into the stretch. She could just never go by that horse in the lane. Now, she is bred to appreciate the extra distance, but I wonder why Arnaud Delacour hasn't stretched her out yet. It makes me wonder.
Yeah, they're going to stretch her out for the first time here. I mean, listen, her turf debut was fine. I don't think it was any better than her dirt form. And the other thing to consider with that misdirection is they just went such an easy pace in there. The horse that won the race got right to the lead. This horse tracked her all the way around the track. They did not go fast. And they went 1-2 around the track, and this horse couldn't catch. She's going to have to do better than that in this field.
Make Me Dream goes out for Christophe Clement. That's the number 6. Joel Rosario takes them out. Open lengths winner of her career debut at Tampa Bay. They tried winners for the first time. I thought all in all, she ran okay in that spot. The 3rd place finisher coming back to finish 3rd in the Fury Stakes at Woodbine over the Tapeta with a 75 buyer. She has a nice pedigree, an upward-looking profile. She wouldn't be surprised at all, especially considering this pace scenario.
Yeah, there's a lot, I think, pointing to this horse. It's interesting because her maiden win first time out of Tampa, I thought it was a pretty visually impressive win. She also got a perfect trip in that race, and she just sort of wound up inheriting the lead when the horse that was on the front bolted on the backstretch, so it left her in a great spot. I did like the way she finished the race off. It was an impressive debut win. Her second start, she ran fine there. The horse that beat her is a Chad Brown horse who's pretty good. I don't think she's one of Chad's better ones, and this horse just couldn't quite get her at the end, but she took a little step forward second time out.
Let's talk about a couple of the fillies trying turf for the first time, beginning with the 4, Cover Photo, who has won her last 2 starts. She is by Munnings, who clicks 9% with first-time turf runners. The Dam was 0 for 1 on the turf, and you look back in this family, the Dam's a half-to-name changer who was a graded stakes winner on the dirt. This is the family of a Fleet Alex, who, of course, won the Preakness and the Belmont. There's just not enough turf for me, although I really respect the way she's won both of her last 2 races.
Me too. I mean, I wanted to see a little bit more turf, especially just because they've been racing her so cheaply, and now she steps way up for her turf debut and stretches out. But I like both of her last 2 races. They didn't get figures, but boy, I thought she ran pretty well in both of those. At a huge price, Dan, maybe I could throw in underneath somewhere because she ran pretty well in those 2 races for Trombetta.
The horse likely to get bet more of the 2 horses trying turf for the first time is the Todd Pletcher trained number 12, Aura Moore. This one is by Orb, who has gotten off to a good start with his turf runners, winning 13% with his first-time turf runners. And while the Dam is yet to foal a turf winner from 3 runners to try the surface, she's a half to a grade 3 stakes winning turf rider and another stakes winning turf rider. So it appears there's enough turf pedigree here. Johnny Velasquez on the original overnight was listed on both Aura Moore and Ebullient. He chose the Michael Matz runner over Todd.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this horse does. I thought she was a little interesting because she does have enough turf pedigree for me, and I feel like maybe they're just making the switch at the right time here because she might have gone as far as she can go on the main track. Her dirt form is fine, but she might be the kind of horse who could take a step forward on turf. I wish she had a better post. But I think this horse has a chance to really improve on the grass.
Venetian Princess, the number 8, 20-1 on the morning line. Debut winner at Tampa Bay, showing some good tactical speed that day. They tried dirt in her second lifetime start. That's not what she wants to do. She's getting back to the surface that she prefers. And I think she showed enough potential in that debut at Tampa Bay that maybe with the right trip and pace setup, she can get a piece.
Yeah, I wonder if she can. She should be a good price in this race. I thought her career debut was fine. She did what she had to do, and she prevailed. She got a perfect trip in that race. But she did win. I really respect this trainer, too. This horse figures to be a big price in here.
Let's talk about the 7, Ebullient. This is the horse that John Velasquez chose over the Todd Pletcher train, number 12, Aura Moore. Looked good winning 2 starts back at Gulfstream. I know you were very impressed with that performance. And then she came back and just got beat a neck at Keeneland. Here's a formulator fact for trainer Michael Matz. Over the past 3 years, 3-year-old turf riders in non-graded stakes, 5 for 7, almost a $10 ROI. And he seems to specialize during these mini Pimlico meets. During Preakness week. He does very well with these sort of horses. So there are a lot of things pointing to Ebullient.
Yeah, just a lot of upside with her, too. And at what should be probably a fair price in this race. We'll see how that all shakes out. I like her turf form. Her dirt form was fine, too. But she seems like she's improved on the turf. Last time, all in all, it worked out for her. But she was pulling a little bit early in that race. It felt like Johnny had a little bit of a tough time getting her to settle. And she stayed gamely through the stretch in there just to get nailed. This filly is really headed the right way. She's a use for me in this race.
Tough outside post for the 13B Nimble, who really has done nothing wrong on the turf. She's been close in all 3 of her races, including 1 maiden win at the fairgrounds. Last time out at Keeneland, I thought it was a solid enough effort, but it's up to Jose Ortiz now to work out a trip. She's tactically minded, and there's a chance she could be hung out wide going into the first turn.
It's all very true. I mean, she didn't draw well at all in this race. We'll see if she can work out a trip, because she worked out a pretty good one last time, making the lead and then conceding it and then still racing on again through the stretch. It was not a bad performance at all. Another horse, Dan, she's just headed the right way for a really good trainer. It's just unfortunate she drew outside.
Super Escape, I liked the way she won most recently at Laurel, going a mile on the turf. She showed that tactical speed. She was able to wear them down and win by a nose. I think she's run okay in both turf starts, but you really want to talk about a tough nose position. She's just mired outside, and really, Julian Pimentel has one of 2 choices. One is to try to go, and you're probably going to get forced wide into the first turn, or take all the way back, and now you got to weave your way through or go around 13 others.
Right, neither of those are very good options, especially when you consider that this filly, she just has to improve to beat a field like this. She's going to need to catch some breaks, and drawing 14, she's already had one thing go against her.
Who you going to call was 19-1, and a non-winners of one other than Optional Claimer last time out. She fell behind early. She passed a couple of tired horses late, went behind Super Escape. She obviously has to do a lot better.
I mean, she just looks like she's in way too tough here.
Let's take a a look at our top selections for the Hilltop Stakes. We obviously respect the Chad horses. We respect Ebullient in here, but we're looking for prices. Your top selection in here, Primel, is 20-1 on the morning line, and I think that's just a super price on a filly that ran so well in her North American debut, the Here Comes the Bride Stakes. And I think it was important that that race was on firm going. I think that's why she's here in the first place, to get firm going. She did not get that in the Appalachian, and she didn't get the right trip either.
Yeah, I don't think she's had the right trip in either of her two starts since she got here. I mean, I think it still remains to be seen just how good she is, and I think there's a real chance that in a field like this, even though it's not a graded stakes race, maybe she's still in a little bit too tough. But I don't know, Dan. Her stateside debut, Here Comes the Bride, she just had no chance. They walked on the lead in there. She was last. I felt like she actually made a really nice run inside through the second turn, and she was staying on through the stretch with no chance to get involved. And then last time, soft turf, post 11, she took a good bump at the start and once again wound up last and just trying to rally in a race that really wasn't coming back for her. I don't think she's run poorly in either of those starts. She was first or second in 5 of her 7 starts in France. She looked like she had some quality over there. She draws inside this time. There's supposed to be pace for her to run into with 3 stretch-out sprinters. If she gets the right trip, she could make some noise at a price.
A solid field she was in against last time out, obviously. The Grade 2 Appalachian. Princess Carolina came back to win at Keeneland with an 80 Beyer speed figure. My horse more of a reach. The 11, Her Royal Highness, did some good things on dirt to start her career and against some stakes horses like Need Supervision and Point of Honor, who I believe is the morning line favorite in the Black-Eyed Susan. Turf debut came in the Florida Oaks, and Concrete Rose, the winner of that race, is okay, obviously. She came back to beat Newspaper of Record at Churchill Downs. That was kind of a bunched-up finish. I'm not really sure about the overall quality of that race, but Her Royal Highness, I thought, got shuffled back to the trailing flight on the far turn, had to angle very wide turning into the stretch, and it seemed like there was some interest there in the lane. And last time out in the Memories of Silver, I wonder if that race could have passed for a Grade 3.
Yeah,
because there were some really quality horses in that race, including 2 from the Chad Brown barn. And Her Royal Highness made an early uncovered move into the quarter pole, and then she just backed out of it. I didn't love the overall effort, but I don't think that's how you ride her. I think you're supposed to just take her back, make one run, and I think that's what's going to happen here under Manny Franco.
I can agree with all that stuff. You know, the Florida Oaks, her turf debut, I don't love that race overall, but she did not get the right trip in that race. And then last time, I mean, I don't really know what to say. I didn't think she ran that great, but I'm with you. I think that was a better field than maybe it will get credit for. She's another horse. She's just going to be a big price in this.
Going to be a big price in here. This looks like a spread race for me. Mike's going 1, 7, 2, and 5. I'm going 11, 2, 3, and 6 in the $100,000 Hilltop Stakes. Race number 9 at Pimlico on Friday. One of a smorgasbord of stakes races at the old Hilltop. Bet them with a DRF Bets account. Deposit 100, bet with 250 at bets.drf.com. The Hilltop has an approximate post time of 3:43 Eastern. Best of luck.